go.
I'm just gonna blab to get people to sit. Good morning, everyone. So my name is Brenda Russell, and I'm the president of the UIC chapter of the State University Annuitants Association, SUAA. And today we have APAC with us as well. And we're really happy that we decided to do this brown bag for pre-retirees, because obviously a lot of people want to know about the good benefits coming your way, things that you've worked for and earned. So how are we going to do this morning? People are still crowding in and settling down. Coffee and cookies are over there. Welcome, everyone. So how we're going to do this is we have two people who agreed to talk about pre-retirement, and they have retired within the last little while, and they thought we'd have about 10 people. And obviously, this is a much bigger topic than that, so we're really delighted that we could roll in some more tables and add some more chairs. So, they're going to talk, so I'll introduce them first, and also, frankly, because we got scared, because we were just going to do one table and one brown bag, and then we got all these questions. So we're really delighted today as well to have some semi-official people, so if we get into some technical questions, we've got some backup, not just people who've gone through it once themselves. So our two guests are Jerry Bauman. Many of you know him. He had all kinds of distinguished job titles, mostly on the west side. Yes?
Here.
Right here. Oh, that's right, provost for you. How quickly one forgets. No, not him, no. But he's retired and currently editor-in-chief of the Journal of American College of Cardiology, Dean Emeritus of the University of Illinois College of Pharmacy, and distinguished professor of pharmacy and medical medicine too, emeritus, yeah. And then Sonia Booth, whose name is extremely well known from her work here with UIC News. In fact, I think we had dozens of emails before I finally met Sonia. And she was here for 36 years, retired in December 2015 as Director of Communications. And we're so lucky that our chapter of SUAA now have Sonia doing our newsletter. We're all a really professional job, I would say. She now works very part-time in the College of Applied Health Sciences. She volunteers, is active in a community garden, and usher with the Saints, and a board member with us at SUAA. Our semi-professionals are, the people from here who are going to answer questions should we need their expertise. Susan Balms, who's Director of Budget and Finance for the Human Resources, and Lee Bridges, who is a retirement specialist with SURS. So that's the lineup. So we're going to start with the comments from these two. On the table, so when you checked in, there are 3x5 cards. Actually, Arlette was waving them at me. Maybe distribute some to the tables so you can write questions. Some people like their questions handled anonymously. We also will have mics. And some people sent in questions ahead of time, and we can see a pattern to those questions. So they're going to talk, and then we're going to go to the question time, and it's going to be very informal and hopefully helpful for you. Okay, Jerry.
Hi, everybody. So, for those of you who know me or knew of me, I usually didn't dress like this. Why am I dressed like this? Because I'm retired. And I'm thinking about maybe a tattoo. I might get an earring. I have a friend that recently retired from the University of Iowa, and he grew a ponytail. And so you can do those things because, you don't have to, you're not impressing anybody anymore. So I wore a suit and a tie for the past 20 years, and so I gave that up. So as Brenda said, I've been here, well, I was at UIC on faculty and in various administrative posts for about 38.5 years. And I also was an undergraduate student and did a residency here. So I was here for 42.5 years on this campus. And so, people ask me, why did you retire? Because I was tired. I was really tired. Somebody told me that when you make the decision to retire, you'll know it. I mean, you'll know it's time. And for me, I knew it was time. The last 10 years that I was here, I was dean for 11 years, and during that time I was provost for 1 year, and I was vice president for health affairs for 2.5 years. And for me, an administrative post lasts about 10 years because you go into it, you're jazzed, you want to do things, you want to build, and then after about 5 years, you've made some progress, and then after 10 years, at least for me, I think the place needs renewed leadership. And so I knew that, I was done building, and I knew that somebody needed to come in and replace me, and with that feeling of, that feeling that they're going to do something. So for me, I sort of, I had maxed out my benefits, and I just sort of knew that it was time. Was I reticent to do it? Yeah, I was somewhat. My wife was even more. She's still working, and but I did line up a few things so that it's not like I get up and watch CNN all day. I took on this responsibility of editing a journal, so I'm still involved in my profession. And I joined a couple boards, one on opiate addiction in DuPage County, and then I'm getting a little bit more involved in political causes. This T-shirt is from Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida, and so it's only been a few months, and I think you're going to hear that maybe don't dive into things like I have, but I'm doing, the way I look at it is that, this is a time in my life when I want to do things, but I want to do things that I want to do, rather than somebody telling me what I have to do. And so that's, we'll see how it goes. I mean, I don't have any plans for being retired, and even though Bob Barish has called me a couple times, but we'll see what goes on in the next couple of years for me. So I can tell you a little bit, I'm not an expert on retirement, some of the people over here are, but I can tell you, as I went through the process, what some of the things that happened to me, and maybe there's some tips. One of the first things I did is make an appointment with service. And I did 2 appointments, actually. One was in a group. This is when I was vice president. I had an office on the Urbana campus, and they were having a big group session, and I signed up for it. And during that session, they sort of go through how you manage retirement and all the paperwork and stuff. But then they also give you a personalized list of what your benefits will be, and you have to give them a projected date that you retire. And so that was my first sort of foray into it, and I found it very helpful. Then later, I made a personal appointment with just a one-on-one with Lee Bridges, who's sitting over here in the Naperville office. I didn't know he was going to be here today, but I had written down, I went through my notes and I'd written down his name, but that session was incredibly helpful to me, and I sort of understood, what I had to do, what my benefits would be, and the other thing is that I think the CSRS website, if you haven't sort of signed up for that, I would. It's very helpful website. First of all, it has all of the, like there's, I brought it with me. I'm in the traditional plan, so, you know, they have like a whole booklet on whatever plan you're in that sort of guides you through the process. And the website itself will show you what your benefits are. So it's pretty simple, and it's a very helpful website. And in fact, I think and the other thing I would say is that I called them when I had questions. I just called the server's office. They're very helpful. They answer all your questions, and I think that was one of the best things about sort of the process. You know, what I did is, I retired December 31st of this year, of 2017. And I was looking back at my notes, and I actually applied. You have to apply. It's a very simple form that you send in. I applied at the end of August. I don't think that was too early, actually, as it turns out. I thought maybe it was at the time, but I think, you know, 4 or 5 months before you actually do it is probably the time, because several things then happen after that. One is that, you know, you have to meet with university payroll here to determine what your terminal benefits are and what you're going to do with that. You know, for me, my terminal benefits were significant, raised some eyebrows, because I'd been here 38 and a half years, and I'd been in, you know, relatively high-paying administrative posts. And so what happens is they're going to pay you for your vacation time and your compensated sick time, and then you have to decide what to do with that money. You can take it home, but it's taxed. Or you can put it into tax-deferred accounts. And there's 2 of them that you have. The university has an arrangement with either TIA CREF or with Fidelity. So, and I met with both of those groups, TIA CREF and Fidelity, to sort of understand what their products are. And then the second one is the state has what's called a 403B plan, which goes through T. Rowe Price, and you can pick some funds for that. So that happened, you know, if I sent my letter in at the end of August, I think that happened in like October, that I had to go through that. And the lady that I worked with here was a lady by the name of Tiffany Montgomery. I don't know if you know her, but I found her extremely helpful. The other thing is that sometime, you know, probably about a month, maybe 6 weeks after they receive your application, you have to select your benefits after you retire, so your health care. Now that doesn't go through CSRS. They refer you to CMS, so you have to go through a state website and sign up for what type of health care that you'd like. And I found that a little bit more confusing, frankly. Go figure, right? It's the state versus but the website itself is a little confusing on what things you pick. But you have to sign up for that website too and get a password in order to gain entrance into it. The other thing I'll note is that it's a little confusing when you retire, what happens then in terms of your paycheck and everything. If you're going to retire on the last day of the month. And actually who told me to do that was Bob Eason, past president. Because when your benefits start always on the 1st of the month. So if you retire the 15th of December, your benefits still aren't going to start until January 1st. That's the way I understand it. So that's why most people retire the last day of the month. And then what happens is, so I retired on December 31st. I got my first retirement payment on January 1st, which was a little odd to me, but that's the way it works. You get paid on the 1st of every month. And what you get paid is an estimated payment. It's called a PEP, I think, preliminary estimate of payment. And it's only about 80 to 90% of what you're going to be paid every month, or whatever your frequency of payment is, because it's estimated, and they don't want to give you too much, so they give you 80 to 90%. And what I was told is that it takes about a couple months for them to sort of truly estimate what your monthly or what your paycheck will be. But the backlog, a lot of people are retiring. It's now like 6 months. So then, for me, I'm getting, like 90% or something of my total payment. but then in June, they will true it up, and you'll get one lump sum for the past 6 months, and then you'll have your payment going forward. So anyway, for me, so far so good. A little over 3 months. I get to sleep in and do the things I want. I'm not bored yet, but we'll see. And so far the process, that has occurred for me in terms of the paperwork and stuff that I had to go through. It looks like it's working, but we'll see. So that's my 2 cents. Next time I come back, I have your ring.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say that I haven't been thinking about getting a tattoo. A couple of weeks ago, I got one. Christmas present from my daughter. And maybe you can see I have light-up shoes, which were a big hit at Mardi Gras last month. So, retirement is pretty great. But I have to be honest, getting to this point wasn't so easy for me, so I'll share a few things that I've learned. Unlike Jerry, I did not plan a lot to retire. So my first lesson to you is, even if you're just starting to think about retirement, keep track of what's going on and know how it affects you. Because see, I had been daydreaming about retiring, and I thought maybe I would retire the next year, but I didn't give it any serious thought. There was some talk about a change in money purchase formula. I didn't really know what that was. I didn't understand. Okay, I didn't understand. Okay, that's better. I didn't really think it would affect me, so I just ignored it. Then I ran into a friend of mine who had started with the university about the same time I did, and he said, you need to look into this. So I did, and he was right. Because I had a meeting with SURS, and I learned in October that if I didn't retire by the end of the year, I would lose about $20,000 in my payout. So, lesson 2 is consult with an independent financial planner, because when I learned that it would be better for me to retire sooner, I kind of panicked, because I was 60, I hoped to have, another 30 years ahead of me, and I was afraid I wouldn't have enough money to live on. I don't want to be an 80-year-old greeter at Walmart. So I was pretty panicked. I couldn't decide whether I should retire or not. I kept going over and over it in my head, and then I went to a financial planner, and I explained my situation. I showed him my paperwork. He had experience with university retirees, and he looked at me and he said, why is this even a thing? This is a no-brainer decision. And so he was right. He helped me navigate the process. He helped me with setting up investments, rolling over money. I really couldn't have done it without someone to help me through it. And at this point, I say, think about an independent financial advisor as opposed to somebody who's with, TIA, CREF, or whatever, because they want you to keep your money with them. And that might be a good thing, but it might not be the best thing for you. So just consider that. So then, lesson number 3, which I think Jerry is finding out, which is, don't make any commitments for your time before you retire for after you retire. Because another reason that I was really panicked about retiring is because, I've probably like a lot of you, I've worked since I was 16. My kids were out of the house. I was very invested in my job, and my identity was really wrapped up in my job. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do if I'm not working? You know, I don't wanna end up on the couch all day drinking and binge watching Netflix. So at the time this was allowed, before I retired, I spoke with a colleague who asked me to come back as a part-time after the 60 days. You can't do this anymore, but it was okay then. And I agreed because I just couldn't imagine not working. So after 60 days, we started the process for a 900-hour appointment. And I just want to say that as an applicant going through the process of getting hired, it's not any easier than being the person who's doing the hiring. So it took a couple of months to get everything set up. And by the time, you know, it was like mid-May, and I realized that there actually are a lot of things I could do with my time. That this is finally a time in my life when I can decide what I want to do and I can decide what I don't want to do. It's still a hard adjustment for me. I tend to over-subscribe myself to volunteer work.
Yes.
But it can be a great time of your life. So 2 other little tips. One is to think about joining UIC SUAA, the State Universities Annuitant Association, because the Annuitants Association keeps track of what's going on in Springfield as far as our pensions and benefits, and keeps its members informed, and also works to protect all the things that they're trying to do. The second thing I didn't know is that as a retiree, you can get a UIC iCard. It doesn't expire until you do. So it gives you the same kind of privileges. You can use the library, you can use the rec center, you can get into all the free things. You can go to Spark in the Park if you want. So that's also a good thing to know. Probably the 4th lesson that I learned is, like I said, you know, life can be pretty great after retirement. And it has been for me, and I hope it's going to keep being so for me, and I hope that it will be for you also. And you can get some light-up shoes and a tattoo.
Well, you see, the future is happy. You were both really great, and you covered a lot of the points. I was thinking, what do I say at the beginning? I got these two are going to hit the right note and tell you things. I want to point out something's on your table. You have a contact sheet that has those websites for Social Security, SURS, the SURS benefit estimator, and so on. And you also have a membership form. If you're currently employed and you do payroll deduction, it's $41 a year. If you pay with an old-fashioned check, it's $44 a year. That's one of these banner UIC things that the difference comes in a few dollars. So now is the time to join up. And we do a lot of things at SUAA. We follow the lobbyists from SUAA, follow the legislation, track the security for your benefits after you retire. There are always people trying to nibble away at the pension itself, which will not happen. That's been through Illinois Supreme Court, but also what exactly will be covered in health benefits and other things. So we track that on behalf of everybody. I hope all of you have signed up for something Jerry mentioned, the HR events that will be on the April 10th and 11th. Did you want to say something briefly about that?
Sure.
Or how to sign up?
Sure, so HR.
So this is Susan Barnes, but we have to get your microphone, or if you come to this.
Oh, okay.
I hate to put you on the spot, but
No, that's fine.
you really should sign up for one of these all-day events. It used to be all-day Saturday. This year, because so many people are interested in retirements and the benefits, there's going to be one on the east side and one on the west side, and it will take a whole morning.
Sure. So typically HR does sponsor a retirement session. In the past, it's always been held on a Saturday morning. This year, we're trying something a little bit different. We've gotten some feedback in past years that it would be more convenient for individuals to do it during the week. So HR is sponsoring these two events in April. The first one is Tuesday, April 10th. That will be here in Student Center East. The second session will be Wednesday, April 11th, and that will be in Student Center West. The check-in is about 8:30 in the morning. There'll be introductions and presentations from University Payroll and Benefits, SUAA, Fidelity Investments, TIA Prep, and SERS. So there'll be basically the introductions and presentations, and then there's a vendor information fair where we'll have individuals from each of these different vendors to answer any questions that you might have.
So how do they register?
There is an online registration, so if you go to the HR website, or if you go to the Nessie retirement page, there's a helpful link right there so you can do everything online.
Everyone who registered today, we have your emails. We'll make sure that you get that link.
And they do fill up quickly, so I'd recommend doing that pretty fast. There is a wait list, so if the sessions do become full, there is a wait list, and we will monitor that closely to make sure we are able to accommodate as many people as possible.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Looking through my notes. So for SERS, a lot of the questions that were sent in ahead of time, by the way, I hope you're writing questions on your cards, and maybe I'll have someone come around. Marilette will come around and collect them, and Debbie. The SERS, the thing I found most useful that you can play in secret is something Jerry said, but I don't think you guys did it soon enough. You should do it 10 years before, 5 years before, and go to the estimator, the benefit estimator. It has all your information. It knows more than you do what you actually earned each year and how many years of service and all that stuff. I think you have to tell them unused sick and vacation, which isn't always easy to know. But it'll calculate. I found that very good. Here's one of the questions that, there were lots like this, but this one was, does it make a difference if I retire at age 65 versus 67? At age 65, I will have worked 23 years. At age 67, it will be 25 years. Well, go in, plug those numbers in, use the last day of the month for retirement, for the last day working, the first day of the month for your first retirement paycheck, and play with those dates for you. We can't answer those questions because it depends on all kinds of things that we don't know, which plan you are in, and so on and so forth. Also, if you have a partner and you put your partner in as 50% of survivor benefits, it needs to know the age of your partner because that goes into the actuarial calculation. So we don't know their sweet spots, and I did mine, and it was like after a certain number of years, I was not working for me. And when you get your pension, you're going to get a 3% per year raise on your stipend. That's AAI, annual adjusted increment. Now, has the university been giving 3% pay raises every year for the past 6 years? I retired 6 years ago. 3% plus 3 compounded, 6 years, it's 20% more, right? 10% every 3 years. That's huge. You need to calculate that into your future planning. Other questions were about SERS and making When do you recommend we make appointments to meet with an individual, it says SUAA, but it means SURS represented, regarding our individual retirement? We have Lee Bridges here, and I'd like him to come to the mic and field that one for us.
There we go, all right. As far as scheduling appointments, typically the policy it serves is 4 years out, 4 years from your earliest eligible date of retirement. I tend to suggest start calling SERS and requesting appointments 5 years out. You can schedule appointments every 12 months. It is always good to take advantage of your every 12-month appointments to schedule to see what has changed and how much your retirement benefit is.
Two cards here, and I'll read them, but I haven't got a clue what the answer is. What might happen to our pensions if the university taxed overpayments? Is that word taxed? Hmm? You all understand the question. Will someone who understand the question?
The question was, what would happen if there's been some talk that with the state that they're going to push the onus on making the pension payments on the university system?
Oh,
what would happen to the pension?
The university system. Jared, you know, I kind of know that one. We've said we'll do it. You want to take that one?
Well, I'm sure hoping nothing happens. But I mean, the benefit is the benefit, right? I mean, so I think the university would have to make good on their portion of the payment to the pension system. So I saw Mr. Bridges shake his head yes. So I wouldn't anticipate any change.
Well, there are kind of two parts to that. One is that the retirement system is a retirement system. It's a separate state agency providing pensions for everyone in the system. Whether the onus is on the universities or the state of Illinois, the state of Illinois hasn't done a spectacular job in funding pensions. The same funding level from a different source, the bottom line is the pension must be paid as the Constitution dictates, which means pensions will be paid regardless of funding source.
I would add something. I asked President Killeen that question when I met with him on behalf of our UIC chapter. And what he said was exactly what you said. It must be paid and it will be paid, and the university can do that. Here's the thing, and if you tell your friends and neighbors one thing about pension reform, tell them this. You've earned your pension because you paid in, you don't have Social Security. Secondly, the state pension reform problem is not the